Quit the 9 to 5 with Ben Handler, getting you out of the rat race and into a career buying property.
Oh, g'day everyone. Welcome to Quit the 9 to 5 with Ben Handler. I'm obviously not Ben Handler. I'm Phil Tarrant. I'm here and my job is to navigate this conversation around transitioning from into being a buyer's agent with Ben Handler, obviously steering this ship with his knowledge and capabilities within the Buyer's Agent Institute. How you going, mate? You well?
I'm very well, thanks, Phil.
Yeah, it feels like we just did this not that long ago, mate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's all happening. Well, we're recording this not long after all this silliness that's gone on in Canberra around new prime ministers. There's new everything these days. So we've yet to see how that might translate into what's going to happen with property and property markets. I think there's a lot of people who are fearful about potential Labor government coming in and wrecking everything and getting rid of negative gearing and all this sort of stuff. So buying property, securing property, managing property, holding on to property is probably going to change in the future. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the phone's ringing. Everyone's got their different, I guess, perspective on what's going on, but I guess you just don't know.
You just don't know.
Don't know. You just got to, I guess, keep buying if the right property comes up at the right price.
And this is an important point because irrespective of who's in government or what their policies are, as an investor, you can't control that. So you've got to concentrate on those things you can control. Hence the reason why getting a good buyer's agent can help you make sure you get the right properties. And this is integral and we talk about it all the time. So thanks for joining us again. What do you want to talk about today? I know we've got someone in the studio and we'll get into that in a second. Is there anything you want to get off your chest? Anything that you've got a beef about? Anything, the conversations you've had over the last week or so that you've gone, this isn't right?
I guess not
Put him on the
really.
spot.
More around, we're excited to have Jay here today, which we'll dive into. But I guess a lot of people I'm talking to are checking in and asking, like, can I be doing this, working as a buyer's agent on the side? Like, I don't really want to quit my job straight away. Like, I can't really quit the 9 to 5 tomorrow. So can I be doing this on the side? And I think with Jay today, we're really going to learn that you actually can.
It's a really good point. And I know you've spent a lot of time in America over the years, and there's a lot I like about America and Americans. Some things I don't particularly like about American Americans, but I'm getting to the stuff I don't like. But what I do like about Americans is that most Americans, they call it have a side hustle, don't they? They've got a side hustle, and there's like a badge of honor around a side hustle. And I think a lot of the concept around a side hustle for Americans is that it's where they want their life or career to go, but it's just an ability to get into it, to formulate a new career or a new opportunity, which can become a full-time thing. So I think, and I'll introduce you to Jay Anderson, who's in the studio today. He's got a bit of a side hustle at the moment. It's being a buyer's agent, but the goal and the ambition is for that to be a full-time job. Is that where you're at, Jay?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I really happy about that segue, by the way.
Yeah, well done. Definitely. So, I've been buying property since 2010. The first property we bought was in Potts Point, needed a renovation. It was a terrible property. It was right at the peak of the TV shows like The Block. Wife and I thought we'd have a go at renovating. So we bought that and we spent the next 12 months renovating it, did it all ourselves. Terrible decision at the time, but we learned a lot and it was a great experience. At the end of that, we lived in it for about 6 months, then got it revalued and went, wow, that was easy. Let's do that again. So I came out of the first property thinking I was an expert, and we went out looking for the next deal. And 12 months later, after doing open for inspections every weekend for 12 months, we still hadn't bought the next property. At the time, I thought I was doing the right research. I was looking at comparable sales. I was looking at what renovation costs would be, post-renovation value, but we still hadn't bought. So after 12 months, I thought, you know what, if I'm going to have a go at this, I need to surround myself with professionals and I need to learn everything I can about being a property investor and what makes a property market turn. So from that point on, it kind of became an obsession. So listening to podcasts, seminars, books, surrounding myself with seasoned investors, aligning myself, went out and saw who's the best property accountant out there. Well, I need to align myself with him. Who's the financial planners that have a good interest in the property space, align myself with them. Start learning more and more about the property market. And then I started looking at, I want to understand what makes a property market tick so I can have an understanding of what to then maybe look forward. So I went back to 1970 where I felt I could get reliable data and started tracking median house prices in each capital city, highlighting the percentage change year on year, highlighted which markets moved greater than 2.5%, 5%, 7.5%, 10%, started then flagging at what stage each capital city at that year was in the property market cycle. And then I thought, okay, that's great. now started looking, is there a correlation between markets? As in, when Sydney's going up, what's the other capital cities doing? And over that long period of time, was there any correlation between the movements? And then I wanted to know, well, that's great that I can see that Sydney was going up and Brisbane was flat, but what was happening in that market at that time which caused that to happen? So I started having a look at population data. What was happening in the population at that time? Infrastructure spending, what was happening? Was there any major infrastructure projects happening? Employment data, unemployment rates, job creation, interest rates, and started building this monster spreadsheet to get an understanding. I was
going to say, you sound like a spreadsheet guy.
Yeah, definitely. And from everything I was learning from doing that and surrounding myself with professionals, I then started using buyer's agents because I saw the value in that. And then from that point on to now, my wife and I have built a multi-million-dollar portfolio spread across a number of states. And whilst we were building our portfolio, I started having friends and family. First, it was mum and dad came knocking on the door and said, hey, we see what you're doing. Can you help us do the same? Mm-hmm. So I went, yep, sure. Well, this is my approach. This is what I've learned. This is the way I do it. Then it was my sisters and then some work colleagues and some friends and friends of friends. And I was just obsessed by property. So I was just helping them and explaining, well, this is the things I look for in a market. These are the professionals I use, and started doing that. And then it wasn't until I found out about the New South Wales real estate licence reform that I thought maybe it's worth just getting that, just in case, I never know where my path's going to go down the end. I didn't ever consider becoming a buyer's agent in the beginning. And then I got put in contact with Ben Handler and had a few chats with him, which was fantastic. I had reservations at the time of doing the course because I thought, I'm not a salesman. I don't want to be a salesman.
You're selling to me right now is what you're doing.
I've never been a salesman. And so there was a fear there of becoming a buyer's agent because I just thought I had to sell something. Mm. And I had a good chat with Ben, and Ben's advice to me was, don't be a salesman. You know your subject, you know property, you're passionate about property. Just sit down and let that shine through and just continue helping people, which I've already been doing. So did the course and haven't looked back since.
It's a good story. And sort of working in this property space, I deal with a lot of buyer's agents, and your story will resonate with many who I think are probably tuning into this right now. It's reflective of how a lot of other people enter this marketplace. Passion for property investors themselves, get obsessed with it, talk about it a lot. Other people ask them for help, so they start organically giving them a hand, and then they go, hang on a second, I can actually turn this into a career, right? And this is the basis of this podcast, is turning a love, passion for property into a career. So I get the story, and obviously this is all, you're listening to this, but I can tell our listeners that you've got a true passion for it. I could see when you started talking about the analytical work you did, sort of assessing marketplace, that you've got that unique blend of being a bit of a boffin or a nerd and understanding, appreciating data and fundamentals, but the story behind that and why and how that can affect and change the actions and activities that people take. So you've got all the grassroots capabilities, I think, to be a good buyer's agent. And I know people have been through this journey as you're going through right now, who are now full-time buyer's agents and doing exceptionally well. And I think because they have a lot of similar skills than what you're portraying right now, as in you are a good salesman, I believe. I've only just met you, but because you actually have subject matter expertise, a passion for property, and you're able to influence people as well, give them information that they can use to make decisions. And that's an important key part of being a buyer's agent. So my point, or the question I'd ask you, and I've got to answer for this, and I'll get into it after I ask you guys, but at the moment you have a full-time job doing something else, and I won't go into exactly what that is, but it's a pretty significant job. Call you a white-collar professional.
Yep.
You probably make good money.
Applications and project manager.
Okay, so you probably make good bucks, right?
Yep.
The fact that you've got a multi-million portfolio says to me that you can borrow money. If you can borrow money, it means you generally got a reasonable salary, all this sort of stuff. But we don't need to go into that. But my point would be, can you be a part-time buyer's agent? You've got two masters, you've got a job to do, and you've also got a part-time job to do. So I'd be going, well, why would I use a part-time buyer's agent when I can use a full-time buyer's agent? But I guess that's part of your story. You're going to have to make a big decision at some point, and whether or not you've made that okay, I'm going to be a full-time buyer's agent. I'm going to walk away from a corporate job. When's that trigger point going to happen? And do you know what's going to trigger that?
I thought it was going to take longer than it has. I'm getting close to that trigger point now.
Yep.
I've got two young kids. I've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. I'm married. We've got a portfolio. So I didn't want to just leave the PAYG job and take the leap and hope for the best.
Big decision.
Huge decision. So I wanted to be able to build my business up where I've got enough income and cash flow coming from the business, but also the pipeline, the future for the business looks very healthy and strong. So rather than it being a big leap, it was just a step.
So you've made the mental decision. You just haven't been able to make the financial commitment to do that. So you know what you need to do. You want this to be a full-time job, but you got to get your ducks in a line before you actually pull the trigger.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
Okay. When do you think that'll be? I hope your employers not listen to this. So do they know?
No.
Okay, all right. His name's really not Jay Anderson, by the way. It must be, because it's the name of your business, right? Jay Anderson Real Estate or something or other. So
Jay Anderson Property.
Jay Anderson, what are you doing?
Yeah, so I remember a conversation Jay and I had. Jay, we jumped on the phone and Jay was like, Ben,
By the way, you got 2 weeks, right, before probably this.
He was like, I don't want to quit the job. I've got kids, I've got mortgages. And I said, yeah, well, that's okay. Let's get the pipeline filled up. Jay's got a good inner circle of influence of people who want to use his expertise and service. So let's reach out to the inner circle. Let's get the pipeline filled up. Let's get some retainers in, because we charge retainers when we sign on clients. So the cash flow is quite dynamic.
Could you just explain that? So a buyer's agent signs on people on a retainer basis. So this is the business model, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So the fee for service is we typically charge around 2% of the purchase price. We take a small retainer up front, which is typically around $3,000, and then the balance is paid on exchange, not settlement.
Okay.
So the retainers can really get you going. So I said, Jay, let's fill the pipeline up, do a few deals, see how you feel. And then, he called me about 4 weeks later and said, mate, the pipeline's pretty full. And then I got him on the coaching webinar for the Institute 2 weeks ago, and I think he'd crunched out 8 deals in the first 3.5 months. So I said, mate, when are you going to resign? And I don't know. So it's over to you.
Yeah, well, and it's
let's do it right now on air.
it's definitely getting close, and the business is growing a lot faster than I thought it would.
Yeah,
which is great. And I'm starting to align myself with some real strong corporate partners, mortgage brokers and financial planners that are really interested in my story and my approach to investing. My approach to investing, I guess, is what I call boring investing. It's established homes in established suburbs. You're not going to get a glossy brochure that you can go and show all your friends. It's just...
Who's your target market, property investors or owner-occupiers?
This is an interesting one, because when I first was having discussions with Ben, I said, I don't want to deal with owner-occupiers. I said, if an investor comes to me, I can show you the research, the data, the stats, and show you why this makes a good investment.
Yeah.
When an owner-occupier comes, all of that's thrown out the window and it's purely emotional. And then I thought it was getting too much into the salesy space. And Ben's advice was, don't shut the door on it. Just try it. It can actually be quite fulfilling and satisfying when you help someone buy their family home or their dream home. So I thought, oh, okay, yeah, well, this guy seems to know what he's talking about. Sure, I'll give it a go. And have done 3 owner-occupier deals since, and they're fantastic. They've actually been really easy and straightforward because they've got an emotional interest in the property. They're out doing the inspections. They're falling in love with the property and then almost handing it to you on a silver platter going, this is the one I want, now help me get it. So the process I've found so far has actually been a lot easier and quite fulfilling.
Yeah, so I want to challenge you on a couple of things. I think it's important. So you need to pull the trigger. You need to make a decision whether or not this is always going to be a part-time job versus a full-time career. And my view would be potentially that might compromise your service delivery. People potentially don't want to deal with a part-time professional.
Yep.
It sounds like you got all that under control, but you're talking about the steps that's going to help you make that decision to turn this into a full-time role, and that's talking about this pipeline. So you want certainty that when you do decide this to be a full-time job, that you can keep the lights on, pay the bill, feed the kids, and maintain a lifestyle.
Definitely. Yep.
Which is cool. This pipeline that you've got, it sounds quite strong. Are they all friends and families? Because I would say you're going to run out of people pretty quickly that's outside of your network. And the skill is to be able to connect and engage with people outside your own network's the easy stuff, right?
Yep.
It's when you get beyond that and exhaust that you got to work and hustle hard to make sure you keep that coming in. How are you going to deal with that?
And that's already been happening. So I guess in our journey of building our own portfolio, I was building a network of referral partners without me even knowing it. We were engaging with different mortgage brokers, different accountants, financial planners that we were using that knew what I was doing and what I was building. So then when I first decided that I was going to do Ben's course, I went back and I told all these people, well, hey, this is what I'm doing. My approach to property investing, I'd love your support. So right away, they were out there promoting my business for me.
So you're building a referral-based business from the get-go?
Yep.
Okay. And they're happy to, they've got the confidence to send clients your way, knowing
Definitely.
that you'll provide service.
Because they know my approach, I guess, to property investing, and it's a very, I guess, not conservative approach, but I'm focused on building long-term portfolios, boring portfolios, not, a quick buck.
What makes you a good buyer's agent?
I have very detailed into the research and the analytics of property. Once I highlight an investment grade suburb, I go up there, I walk the streets. I want to know everything about that suburb.
You set up there, you must be buying in Brisbane then, right?
Yeah. One of the spots, yeah.
And Jay, sometimes I guess you've obviously got people that inspect the properties, but if you can't get to, let's say, Southeast Queensland when you buy something, how does that happen with trying to buy it?
So we've got properties in our own portfolio up there. So I've got property managers, builders, tradespeople that I've worked with for years and I've got a lot of trust in. So if we need to do a quick inspection, I would get one of my property managers to go have a look at it for me. The kicker for them is they're probably going to get the property management, which is great. Most of the deals in, say, for Brisbane, it's $1,000 deposit, 14-day building and pest, 14-day finance. So once that deposit's down, I've got 2 weeks to get up there and I'll do a FaceTime or just a
It's
video.
a really, really important point. It's sort of a bit off tangent, but for the investors who are tuning into this, a lot of them forget that the buying conditions in the different states varies considerably. When I buy in Brisbane, I use that 14 days as part of the strategy. I go, if you pay a deposit, you're going to get it back if you don't want it, but it allows you to control that property, and that control is really, really important. Then you've got 14 days to do the due diligence to make sure it's okay. So it's a tactic and strategy of the buyer's agent, that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a powerful tool to use.
That's cool. You enjoying it?
Love it. And I guess touching on the part-time, full-time part, another bit of advice that a business mentor gave me was people are very busy Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, right? Everyone's got jobs or the rest of it. So if I lead into an appointment or talking to a potential client and say, hey, most of my clients prefer to meet outside of business hours, either early morning for breakfast, at night during the week, or on weekends. And I find that those meetings are a bit more relaxed. People can take their time to ask questions and really find out more about me and my services, and they're not checking their clock on, I've got to get back to work for a 2:00 meeting. Pretty much all of my clients have taken me up on that. So it might be a 8 p.m. Thursday meeting or a Sunday brunch or something like that. So that's how I've kind of been managing the part-time bit. And then I've got about an hour and a half commute to work each day. So in the mornings, as soon as you hop in the car, I'm on the phone. My hour lunch break isn't a lunch break. That's when I'm hustling. That's when I'm, calling the agents. And
does any of your mates at work know what you're
definitely?
doing?
And I've helped a few of them buy property.
Okay.
So
I know someone in particular who's probably listening to this who'll be resonating. Who's a very successful buyer's agent, by the way. So a very similar story to yours. Going into small business, you're in SMEs. It's great. It's exciting, but it comes with some challenges. Number one would be, it's probably going to be hard for you guys to borrow money for quite some time until you get a couple of years of good financials behind you. So it's probably going to stall your own property investment portfolio, but that's okay. I think more importantly, you is your wife working in the business with you?
Yeah, she's still working 3 days a week at her job.
Okay. So the idea is that this will be both a full-time job for both of you within the business. That's cool.
Definitely.
Have you talked about the sacrifices that you're going to have to give up potentially as a family, right? It's hard building a business, and if you want a successful business, you've got to put the hours and the time into it. So have you had a real honest, frank conversation around that and what you're going to have to give up in order to make this successful?
Definitely, and we're making those sacrifices now.
How have you prioritized it? How did you go through that process? You sound like a spreadsheet guy. You probably did a spreadsheet around it.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, did you?
So, this is part of how we came about building our portfolio. Is I sat down with my wife and we worked out what's the end game, right? What do we want out of it? And we thought, okay, a passive income at retirement. Okay, well, what's that number? Let's actually sit down and try and quantify that number. So we came up with that number, and then looking at all the long-term averages in the property market, long-term interest rates, average holding costs, take a conservative capital growth percentage, allowing 4 weeks vacancy a year, trying to build a conservative model looking forward. I then reverse engineered that passive income at 60 to work out exactly how many properties I need to buy and when to get that desired passive income. So managing the portfolio has been an awesome experience for us, and we've made a decision that this is a business we're passionate about. This is a business we're good at, and we're willing to do the sacrifices now. So, most nights during the week, my wife's sitting up with me till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to, build up our sales pipeline or working on social media stuff for our business. She also enables me to dedicate time to the business, so she might be taking the kids away to the park on a Saturday so I can sit down and nut things out. So we're definitely in this together, and I wouldn't be able to do this without her.
So there's quite a interesting partnership you have there. You have a partnership as a husband and wife and as a family unit, but you've also got a partnership as business partners. You've also got your own culture for how you approach and handle and deal with conflict in your relationship and the family, and that's none of my business. But do you think you guys are going to get on as business partners, and are you going to be able to disconnect and disassociate family life and business life and actually have hard conversations that won't flow into a negative family environment? How are you going to deal with that?
We met at the same work, so we worked together.
Okay.
So we worked together for probably 5.5 years.
Okay.
I'll openly say she's the boss at home. So I know where I stand. She knows where she stands, and she supports me in the business as well. So it's, it works.
Yeah, and I don't want to get into the family stuff, but in terms of your business skills, are they complementing? Are they very different? Are they the same? How would you see that?
Very different. So I'm very analytical, process orientated. Caroline is an executive assistant for a large development company at the moment. So she's very organized. She's very, organized, detail orientated, and realizes, I guess, where our strengths and weaknesses are. So that's a part of what I need to work on, is I need to realize that I'm a perfectionist, right? So I'm very analytical. I want to know everything. I want to know all the moving parts. I need to be able to go, this little part of the business, I need to not focus on, and hand that over to Caroline. She's good at that area. Let her do that.
So what's success look like for you guys?
This is a good question. So part of building this business, I had this question with my accountant, and he said, well, where do you want this business to be in 5 years? Do you want it to be a huge business and you've got 30 buyer's agents working for you, or do you want to be more of a boutique buyer's agency? I really enjoy doing the strategy with clients, that initial contact, and trying to work out what the end game is in that kind of property advisor space. So where I see the business in maybe 5 years is I would still like to have that touch point initially with clients, and then I might have buyer's agents that are on the ground sourcing deals, finding deals, but more of a boutique kind of, sub 10 employees.
You've answered that very operationally. I want a strategic and emotional answer from you. What does success look like? That's a bit hard, sorry, but that's what I want to get to, because I think it's a really important point for people looking at this industry.
Like, is it financially driven, or obviously it's a big passion. Like,
no, and that's an interesting point, because it's probably the first business venture or anything that I've done in my life where it hasn't been financially driven.
Okay,
it's about, I'm actually doing something that I enjoy doing. I do in my spare time,
and that's a really important point. You're making passion your paycheck, for example. Whereas a lot of people go into a business thinking, I just want to make money, and I don't really like doing it, but I know I'll be good at it. So it's a really important business fundamental. And people looking at becoming a buyer's agent, you probably see all the time, they just want to make money. It's probably not the right industry for them.
Yeah,
that's my view. What do you reckon?
Yeah, everyone wants a quick buck, and this is a hard slog. Like, we talk about quitting the 9 to 5, and I think it's not about you get to work from, 10 till 12. You got to work harder, but I guess you choose your hours. And I think it'd be good just to quickly understand, like, regarding the flexibility, like, compared to your work, like, you get to really design your calendar in this game, right? It's hard work, but you get to design it, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's going to enable me to be able to have more family time with my kids, which is extremely important to me, and it gives me that flexibility of, picking them up early from childcare, or, doing something on a Sunday, not having to worry about getting to work at 8 a.m. on Monday morning. It's definitely a lot more flexible, and that's something that I am looking forward to.
It's cool. I like it. It's good, and thanks for bringing Jane on as a guest. I've really enjoyed the chat. It's hard. Creating a business is hard. But I think just chatting to you for the last chatting with you for the last half an hour, you've got a lot of, I feel, the sort of fundamental attributes which should set you right, but you haven't truly been tested yet. Running a business is difficult, and when it's great, when it's not great, it sucks, right? How do you feel you're sort of geared? And one of the questions I had, and one of the, and I wanted to preempt it with that, what does success mean for you? You mentioned you've got yourself and your business partner, your wife, and you have complementing skills, but different skills. Is there any skills that are fundamentally lacking in in yourself or your wife or collectively that you're going to have to go and find or learn or evolve? Is there anything clear there?
Probably building up the pipeline, the sales pipeline, going out there and finding business. And that was a big part that Ben's course really taught me. It kind of gave us the blueprint and the defined processes and steps to follow to go out and build these corporate lead generating partners, going out and building up LinkedIn contacts and all the rest of it. It really gave us the framework on that. That's what we need to focus on. So without that, I wouldn't have been able to build the kind of pipeline we have now.
That's cool. And I'll finish with this question, Ben. You probably chat about this. I know you have quite a close connection with your students that go through the Buyers Agent Institute, but advice for Jay that you would give him over a coffee or a beer, which was quite frank and matter of fact, but on air, so other people can learn from it. What's going to make Jay's business successful?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think it's all around, when you're working in the business as opposed to working on the business, it's a massive struggle. And I've seen so many real estate agents over my time who, phenomenal listing agents, they leave their work and they go then run a franchise or start their own real estate company, and it kind of goes a bit south because they don't know how to run a business. So I think my advice would be around really quickly trying to work out, which you are, I think, where's your skill set lie? Like, is it working on the business or is it working in the business? Like for me, it's on the business. So I think you've got this opportunity with your wife, Caroline, to kind of work out those skill sets like Phil's been talking about, and then work out, well, who's going to work in and who's going to work on? And then wherever it's lacking, where are we going to find people then to come in and do that? Because you can't do it all yourself. After a while, wearing too many hats, you burn out. So I think you got to work that out as quickly as possible.
And Jay, advice from you to our listeners who are contemplating or in a similar journey to you right now, looking to quit the 9 to 5 and turn buying property into a career. What would you say?
I think, our working life span, you enter the job force at 18 and, go till maybe 60. It's a huge part of our life. If you're doing something you're not enjoying and you're passionate about something else, i.e. property, go and do that. Do something that makes you happy. And if you've got enough passion and drive to do something, it'll work. If you dedicate enough time to educate yourself and surround yourself with professionals, the doors that'll open and the opportunities that will come will be endless.
That's cool. And your business, jayandersonproperty.com.au?
That's correct. Yep.
That's cool. And Ben, where can people hear about the Buyers Agent Institute?
Just the usual place, the buyersagentinstitute.com, so www.buyersagentinstitute.com, and my mobile's on there. If anyone wants to have a chat to me, I'm always welcome to have a conversation with you.
All right, brilliant. Thanks, guys. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Quit the 9 to 5 with Ben Handler. For more advice on turning property buying into your career, head to www.buyersagentinstitute.com.au now.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature, does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs, and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property, or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.